Bring your makeup with you.
I need a little mirror so I can
Good. Okay. Call meeting to order. Those who care to, please stand for an opening prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Cameron, if you would.
Thank you. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day, and thank you for all that you do for us. And Lord, again, we just pray for this country, Lord. Pray for all the people that have been affected by the hurricanes, those that have lost everything, and those that have been part of the recovery. Thank you for all the workers that have helped. Lord, I just continue to pray for the storms that continue to mount up, and Lord, I just pray the protection for those in the path of those storms. I just pray for all those that have been involved in helping. I pray for this city. I thank you for what you're doing. I just pray for direction and wisdom. I pray for tonight's meeting that you just guide and direct us in all we do and say. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. We have a pretty short agenda tonight. We'll start off, though, with a proclamation. We have the Minning family here tonight. I said it correctly, right? All right. Betty Minning, and I'm going to read the proclamation, and then I'll have you guys come up here and I'll present it to you, okay? So, whereas one of the privileges of the office of the mayor is to recognize and honor the outstanding citizens of our city, and whereas today it is my pleasure to join with many friends and family in honoring Mrs. Betty Minning on the occasion of their 50th anniversary of moving to 153 White Oak, Republic, Missouri. And whereas Mr. and Mrs. Minning moved to their home on White Oak in late August of 1967. And whereas when the Minnings moved to Republic, Mr. Minning ran the Frisco Depot until he later became a dispatcher, and Mrs. Minning has always been the caretaker of their home. And whereas Mr. and Mrs. Minning's 3 children all graduated from Republic High School. And whereas on September 9th, 2017, Mrs. Minning celebrated living in Republic for over 50 years with her family, friends, new neighbors, and old neighbors at her residence. Now, therefore, I, Jeff Usry, Mayor of the City of Republic, in the state of Missouri, extend to Mrs. Betty Minning this expression of our sincere congratulations on this happy occasion. In testimony whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and affixed the seal of the City of Republic this 19th day of September, A.D. 2017. Thank you for enjoying our wonderful city for 50 years, and we're so happy to be here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hopefully the city's just as good now as it was then, maybe a little better.
Better.
All right, that's a good thing. All right, moving on. Citizen participation. Anybody who would like to speak to anything not on the agenda, please step to the podium, state your name and address, and you'll have 5 minutes. Anybody wishing to speak to anything not on the agenda? Seeing none, citizen participation is closed. Need a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda.
Motion. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 5-0. Boards, Commissions, Committee schedule. Just as a note, the next City Council meeting will be October 3rd, 2017, and then the next one will be October 17th, 2017. On to old business and tabled items. Need a motion and a second for the second reading of Bill number 17-33.
Motion. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 5-0. Ms. Brenda.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, amending the Municipal Code of Republic, Chapter 600, Alcoholic Beverages, Section 600.050, application for license and renewal by removing the requirement for liquor license applicants to post a $1,000 bond.
Need a motion and a second for final passage of Bill number 17-33.
Motion. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Before we move on to the vote, do we have any questions for Ms. Brenda regarding the ordinance? Anything we need to cover? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Mendez?
Aye.
Councilmember Dykeman?
Aye.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Okay, I need a motion and a second for the second reading of bill number 17-36.
Motion.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 5-0. Ms. Brennan.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, amending the Municipal Code of Republic, Chapter 110, Administration Policies, by enacting a new Article 8, Authority to Enter into Contracts Policy.
Thank you, ma'am. Need a motion and a second for final passage of bill number 17-36.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Cameron before we move on to a final vote? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilmember Wilson?
Aye.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Councilmember Dykeman?
Aye.
Councilmember Mendez?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. On to new business. I need a motion and a second for the first reading of bill number 17-37.
Motion. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 5-0. Ms. Parks.
I am pleased to
I'm
address.
sorry, we need the reading.
Sorry.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, authorizing and directing the issuance, sale, and delivery of special obligation bonds, Series 2017, of the City of Republic, Missouri, and approving certain documents and authorizing certain other actions in connection therewith.
Okay. Sorry, Ms. Parks.
Okay. Council, I am pleased to present tonight the refunding of the 2010 and 2011 special obligation bonds for a new Series 2017 special obligation bond in the amount of $4,195,000. I would like to tell the City of Republic and all citizens and council that having been reviewed by the S&P, we have been upgraded to an A+ bond rating. What this means to the city is that we're on the right track financially and in our direction, and it's all to the hard work of everyone involved. So with that note, once we found out the new rating, it impacts us with 0.5 to 0.10 basics points for a total of $13,000, which does not seem significant, but the refunding is for a smaller term obligation bond. If the city was to go out at a future date, the savings would be a lot greater. Another point of this bond is that originally the amount of the 2010 special obligation bonds was $3,525,000. The amount of the 2011 bonds that are left is $1,695,000 for a total of $5,220,000. After all the finance charges, closing costs, and everything, we're approximately going to be issuing the bond for $4,195,000, seeing a savings of $942,443 plus the $13,000 we found about today. Overall, the schedule for this is we will have a hearing on October 3rd. The hearing was advertised today in the Springfield News Leader. It gave a 15-day public hearing notice, so anyone who would like to come to the hearing at our October 3rd meeting is welcome to attend. The reason we're having this hearing is because the leasee of part of the Miller Park Community Center is a nonprofit, so they're required by tax requirements to hold this hearing. For those of you who are not aware of what was funded in the original issue, it was part of the Miller Park Sports Complex, part of the police station. When we pay off, and a couple water fund projects, when we pay off and refund this bond, we are going to pay down the general fund debt that was funded out of the original 2010 issues and 2011 issues. And the fire truck that has been discussed at great length in our council meetings and other venues will be completely paid off going into this new special obligation bond. Totally, we'll be utilizing $716,000 of funds that were held in deposit for a reserve fund for the original bond fundings. Those will be rolled into it, helping reduce and bring that savings that you'll see in the new bond issuing. UMB Bank will be the bank of trust, which is our current bank of trust, so there will not be a big change there. Scheduled bonds will be closed if council should choose to approve this tonight, and then at the second reading will be on October 19th. The interest rate will be set at the October 3rd once council approves and passes the ordinance if they should choose to do so. At the October 3rd hearing, Gilmore and Bell will be there, the legal counsel on the bond issuance, and they will be happy to answer any technical questions. So if you think of questions, if you'd like to send us an email, we could get them in advance of the hearing, and they will answer any questions anyone might have at that time.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, discussion from Ms. Parks? I would just make sure we remind everyone that this is not $942,000 that we're going to put back in the bank.
Right.
This is just a schedule of what our citizens would have had to have paid, and the $942,000 is what they will now not have to pay.
Right.
It's a savings to the citizen.
Yes.
And is that a 3-year reduction on the debt?
I believe it's the same term,
Okay.
but the savings is savings. So I'm not sure. Let's see, new schedule. No, it's the same term. It's going to end on 2025.
Okay. But either way, it's nearly $1 million that the citizens of this city are not to pay.
Yeah.
Save.
Very good.
Mr. Mayor, just a clarification, that the $942,000 is without the increased bond rating, so that's what they presented in the original work session. So basically, until the market is set, so it could drop even, it could actually go up even more. But just if we went off today's market rate, so we don't even know, because it continues to be pretty unsteady. So, but the bond rating going up for us, so the increase is going to be substantial, or not as substantial, but we could actually see an increase if the market drops a little bit more. So we actually went from it was about 860 when we originally started, to 942. So if you add another 13 to it, we're looking at about almost 960. So if there was a change, it could almost be just south of $1 million. So that's huge for our community. But the bonding rating increase, because that's on to go from an A to an A plus, was substantial. And then we also went from an A plus to an A double minus on our general obligation opportunities. So it's kind of a red letter day for the city from a financial perspective, because once we can release the report and I'm more comfortable to discuss it, but I'm very comfortable to tell you that we went from an A to an A plus, and then went from an A plus to an A double minus on our general obligation. That's substantial for the community. And so the $13,000 is one thing, but the rating is, it tells you it's safe money to issue, better-ish money to issue. So kudos to everybody. I think it speaks to the processes we've changed in the last year that helps us a lot.
Yeah. And to be clear, the debt going from an A to a double A minus is actually a good thing. That's a 2-step increase.
Well, it means that our money, we're safe to lend money to if we wanted to go build a building or do, especially on general obligation bonds. But for refinancing to go from an A to an A plus, it was a 3-hour conversation with the S&P, and I think you have to demonstrate that you have internal control of the organization with processes and things that were added. You'll get to see the draft report of what we answered. So I look forward to being able to provide that. Until it's not a draft, we've got to go through it and make sure that that all validates what we stated, that those are accurate statements. But we'll have that at the next meeting. But as soon as that moves from a draft to a final copy, it's about 2 or 3 pages. We'll provide it to the council. We'll also release it to our website and to our Facebook and to about every media outlet we can, because that's huge for the city. And we'll make sure we get the message out, because I think that's something that's very important for everyone to understand.
Absolutely amazing. It's a lot of savings and an increased rating. I don't think we get much better than that. So, any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, seeing none. If you have any questions, this is the first read. Please get with Ms. Parks in the meantime. Thank you. Okay, I need a motion and a second for the first reading of bill number 17-38.
Motion.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 5-0, Ms. Cameron.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, approving the final plat of the lakes at Sheila Ridge Phase 2 subdivision.
Mr. Tyson, would you give us an overview, please?
I will. This final plat will subdivide approximately 28 acres into 77 single-family lots. All of those lots conforming to the city's medium-density single-family zoning district, meaning that they all have at least 9,000 square feet in area. The final plat also includes the dedication of all necessary easements and right-of-ways to contain the streets and other public infrastructure, as well as other utilities that are necessary to serve 77 single-family lots. As of right now, we are still waiting on just a couple of things from the developer, but they have committed to have those things completed before the second reading of this ordinance. Staff is recommending approval.
Okay, any questions, comments, concerns for Mr. Tyson? We're good on infrastructure there, you said?
Yeah, we're waiting for them to finish up, I think, a couple bits of sidewalk, and then we've got to get a maintenance bond from them.
Okay, so pretty well along the way.
Yes.
Any other questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, this is the first read, so if you have anything that comes up between now and the next meeting, please get with Mr. Tyson. Thank you, sir. On to other business, resolution number 17-R-76, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, awarding a bid for 2017 road striping and authorizing the execution of a contract agreement. Need a motion and a second?
Motion. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Mr. Cameron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I mentioned at one of our council meetings, what you have is a proposal for some street striping. Originally, the budget was for about $20,000. When I got the original project in, I was like, I want to move it. I want to, exchange some work in the street department to get more striping done. And I think the striping program is fairly far behind. And there's a number of areas, so you can see down Hines and Lynn, all the way to pretty much 60. That intersection at Lynn's and Hines needs a lot of work, and so I feel like that we're going to have to bump up the program. So we went from 20,000 to 28,000. If there's any more savings and it's still within the amount of time and the weather, I may add to this project even more if I see there's savings in the street budget or an increase in the sales tax. That we need a number of more areas, especially Miller needs some more work. But I want to get further ahead on our striping than where we're at. So for the 28,000, I didn't want to go further than that until we see where the budget comes out. But I anticipate if the weather is good and we can do more of it between now and the end of the year with the budget and stay within our budget, we will. So right now, this is kind of like first phase, and then I'd like to look and see if we can do some more, if there's any additional savings in the street department with the year and the budget moving forward. So we may actually bring something else to you as the budget allows. But right now, this is as comfortable as we feel given the current budget. But we're recommending approval.
Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns? Mr. Cameron? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 5-0. On to the finance report. Ms. Parks.
Thank you. The finance department has been really busy. We're in the middle of budget season, preparing that to bring to council in a workshop in the next month or two. We're also been working with the Capital Improvement Committee to come up with a list of capital projects that are available to go into the budget. As far as our accounting software, we had issued a request for proposal. Our subcommittee has been busy. We have seen presentations from 4 software companies, and we have done research reference calls on a lot of cities that were listed in there that are users of the software. Basically, where we're at in the process, so that council will be aware, on Monday the 25th, we have scheduled 2 follow-up web presentations with the 2 semifinalists. And then from there, we're hoping to maybe do a city visit of a city that is actually utilizing our top contender And then if we are all in agreement with who the finalist is in the RFP process, we'll arrange for a workshop and then to bring it to council. So we're hoping, if we stay on timeline, hopefully maybe in October or the first council in November, if everything works out. So good things are happening. We are hoping to bring that quickly. As you know, we still continue to have some struggles with our accounting software in a lot of different areas of our city. But I wanted to point out on our financials this time. This is the August financials. Our sales tax revenue still remains slightly above last year at 2.69. I'm really optimistic that hopefully next month we will start seeing a little bit more of an uptick, but they've been a little bit up and down, so I won't predict that for sure. Behind that summary sheet, you will see the breakdown of the actual amounts that came in for each of our sales tax categories. On our cash report, I just remind everyone we have unrestricted, that was purely unrestricted, designated, which we've designated by ordinance or through the budget process. They're restricted, so you will see that our unrestricted and all the various funds of the city remains pretty healthy at $4,731,000. However, the general fund still healthy, but is $1,615,696. If you count in the designated funds available, that could be changed with an ordinance. The general fund has $2,416,943. That's at the end of August, and of course this is on a cash basis, not accrual basis. It's what's actually in the bank accounts at the moment. So then we have the budget versus actual reports, and just briefly, for the month of August, we should be 67% of the budget. And so you will see the general fund expenses is right on target at 67%. The revenues are slightly above target at 72%, so the general fund, we're doing really good. The utility fund, revenues are slightly lower at 46%, and expenses are still under budget at 62%. Street, stormwater, and parks, there's a little issue in parks, so that might be adjusted down on the expense side that we're researching. It was a summit issue, but so it might tick down a little slightly. But their revenue holds steady at 69%, right on target for their budgeted amount. So anyway, that's our finances in a nutshell. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions from council? Discussion? Go ahead, sir.
No,
Oh.
good.
On the wastewater, on the special purpose designated funds, where we have $265,000 in unrestricted, and then we have $876,000 in designated capital replacement, is that what's being used for the renovation at the lift station?
Yeah, actually, we have used everything. I've done the transfers up to the unrestricted cash to cover the expenses. What I did do, you'll notice that the sewer impact fees last month had approximately $669,000. We transferred all of that up, and we used it to cover the expenses. So there's now zero in the sewer impact fees. And then I did another transfer this month in the amount of $415,000, which I took from the designated capital replacement account up to the cash to cover those expenses. So the transfers have been done, and that is what is left.
Okay. Good to know, thank you. So that's done. All right, any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. Need a motion and a second to approve the finance report.
Motion. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? That carries 5-0. No appointments and commissions. Told you we had a short agenda tonight, so moving on to reports from staff. Mr. Cameron, I would like to, I know we kind of already got brought up, but some exciting news that's kind of a banner day for the City of Republic.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It really is. I can't tell you how exciting that is to see a bond rating improvement. I know that if you've ever been in an S&P call, and I hope that you get a chance sometime, as Debbie would tell you, it's a lot of process. It's very driven by how you manage your city's funds and processes that are set into place. but it's critical that they see that there's a control or there's things that we're doing to manage the city's funds. And if you go back a year, we're looking at, we hired BKD to do some work and some things that we were doing to straighten out our accounts. For them to come back and provide us with a rating that shows an increase and then things that where we're at today, it just speaks to the hard work and stuff that we've done even as a legislative group to improve processes and things that you've allowed us to do. I'm looking forward to presenting that report to both the council and to the community, and then so people can see it, because that's huge for people that are looking to invest in our community. Well, that we're a well-run city, we're financially stable, but we manage it well, and we're looking after it well. We have good internal controls that take care of that. That speaks to the staff. That speaks to the credit or the trust bestowed upon us to take care of it each day, and what we go through, and the staff we've hired, and the stability we've created with the finance officer, with Debbie, and utility billing office. And I need to address the utility billing office, but I will tell you that it's better than it was even after we started. And so I think that it's hard to describe, because not everyone will understand 5 to 10 basis points will do, but on $1 million, that's substantial. But the rating going up is not going in a negative direction. And when you start seeing governments and things struggling with their finances, most people do not trust, and they're challenged with how government's handling their money. For us to be demonstrating that our money and our security and the way we're handling it going up speaks to the credibility that we are trustworthy with the government's money, with the public's money. And I think that the rating says it, not us with just our words. I think when the S&P or Standards & Poor's finds that and communicates that, I think it's critical for our community and our citizens to hear that. And so, Ryan, we'll be working with you and everyone to make sure that message gets out, because I think that's one of the most important things we can tell people, is that we are diligent with the taxpayers' money, and it's important that we show that. So, great job to all the staff and to everyone, and even the work that's been done with this body and what we've done to change processes. And there's more that we need to work on. And so, what I love about this report is there's still more opportunity that we were able just to say, give us a year and let us show you what we can do after what we get more and more momentum, because it actually shows that there's room for us to improve. But I think that the improvements we've made were noted in the report, and you'll see that. Ron, welcome back.
Thanks.
It's good to have you around the office, and I know we've just thrown you right into the fire on some stuff immediately, but so welcome back. I think it was like the first or second day. I was like, Ron, I got one of those fun ones for you. Like, right on. Back to utility billing. Debbie is not going to mention it, but I'm going to. And I want this to the community. This is another thing I want to work with Ryan and even through our Facebook page. One thing I've noticed, and many of you that have lived here for a while have noticed as well, the utility billing side has struggled. But a lot of that, and I've dealt with this a lot, and since I've been here, when I first moved here, I think I went 3 months without a utility bill ever getting to me. I was like, and I'd come in and say, how do I not have a utility bill? It doesn't mean I wasn't billed. Trust me, I paid my bill. But I was asking, it was like 3 months and there's no bill. Or then you come in and all of a sudden the software would change. It says I'm supposed to get email billing, and I don't get email billing. I get one in the mail. And then it says, and then I even got 2 past due notices. We know that there's a flaw in the system, but the software that we're using is part of that challenge on our utility billing. So I cannot emphasize enough, and it's not an excuse, but that system is that antiquated that we're having people that are not getting billed, or they're getting shut-off notices, or they're getting the wrong house shut off. So to the community, we understand that. We are working on an active program, but it's going to be expensive to replace it, as you all know. But one thing that we're going to ask at the next meeting is I'm going to ask for latitude, because one thing about it is it's falling out on the utility billing staff. They cannot waive bills. The ordinance does not allow that. I mean, if there's an undue shut-off notice and they get a bill, but if somebody says, hey, listen, I've been dealing with this and didn't get a bill, just for the trouble I've been through, we'd like to be saying, hey, just for your trouble, we'd like to give some level of discretion to say, hey, we'll help you with your bill, because that shouldn't have happened. You shouldn't have been shut off. We're going to ask for some latitude for the finance director, the utility billing supervisor, and myself to work with people in those situations, to use latitude and common sense to say, you should never have dealt with that. That is not your fault. But there's no provision in ordinance that allows us just to wave a magic wand over something the council said, hey, if it says it went through your meter, that's fine. But if they never even got a bill and they're getting shut off notices, we need to have some latitude to offer some provision to say, sorry for your inconvenience, but until we get the software changes, and that will be in April, we're seeing a lot of people that are very upset, and rightfully so. They're taking it out on, they're saying Debbie's not easy to work with or it's difficult, and anyone that knows she's working very hard. I want to provide some level of latitude for our staff to say, hey, we understand it. We've got some latitude to help you with your bill if they're not delinquent. So you'll be seeing an ordinance come to you. But I would ask the community to understand we are working on an active solution. If you all recall, not everyone on this council, you outsourced it at one time to try to correct it. And there were people, and that didn't work, so we took it back in. Then the software will take it from send you a paper notice, and then it'll say email notice. Then people aren't getting their email notices. Like I told them, I said, just put me on a paper notice, and I'll write a check. I cannot afford to say that I'm a late. In some of those situations, it was saying they were delinquent accounts and requesting them pay a deposit. And so that just can't happen. And so we're going to improve the process, but a lot of that is due to the billing software, but that's all tied to the Summit software. And so I'm sure they'll have, but that is a fact that we need to continue to change it. So in your packet tonight is a Tiger grant. What that means is a transportation investment generating economic recovery grant. We are going to resubmit on the MM Highway project. There is a rural grant opportunity, which basically our project would qualify for. It's already been drafted from several years ago, but it's kind of paper ready, and so we're going to be resubmitting it, updating some of the economic development or the attributes to the community from an economic development perspective or financial perspective. But that has a local match to that, so we're going to be submitting for that Tiger grant again, and hopefully we'll see some money move for that project. But note that some also good news about the parks, and I know Jared would tell you this, but the Owen Park Trail, there's been a lot of people that have asked about that. That has received its, how does that worded, Jared? Provisional approval. So basically, but there have been a lot of people asking us, when's that trail going to be going in? So we've got the provisional approval to move forward with the project. And so, help me out, when is that anticipated to start?
Second quarter of 2018 we'll start construction. The provisional thing is just an environmental thing. We don't think there'll be anything to that. It's just a formality, really. So when that becomes official, we'll communicate that with the community. But there are a lot of people excited about that. And as you well know, there are so many rooftops right around Owen Park that's the reason we're really excited.
And so with that comes the need for eventually we're going to have to hurry up and get the sidewalk down Hines Street. So when people are wanting to go there, they're not walking across or down the street to get to the trail. So it's over half a mile of a trail, more trail. I think the 174 trail turned out very well. There's still some ADA improvements we need to make out there, and there's some finished work. So we're not done with 174, but I've heard a lot of positive feedback. I'm looking forward to the other trail as well. So other than that, that is all I have. That's a lot.
Thank you, sir. Real quickly, some events. October 7th is Pumpkin Days here on Main Street, and that's a big event for the City of Republic. And I just heard something about, Jared, correct me, is it October 3rd at the Ant?
Yeah, we have actually one this Saturday as well. We're showing Zootopia this Saturday night, and October 3rd, I can't remember off the top of my head, Mayor, what we're showing, but there is a bit out there, yes. And then we'll have Boogie Badge out there in October, last Friday in October.
Some exciting stuff out there for people doing the Parks Grant. We were going to go through with that work anyway, correct? So this just basically said, here's $73,000 that you don't have to spend of the city's money.
And I know I've probably done it before, but I really want to thank Jennifer Mayfield for that. She took the lead on that and really got the grant, so she did a fantastic job.
Yeah, so that's great. That's another $73,000. So you add that to our bond refinance, and we're well over $1 million we've saved the city this year. Wanted to go back to Debbie having the ability to handle issues, and I think sometimes the citizens don't understand, and whether the frustration comes in is they're used to dealing with private businesses, and if there's a problem, you give them something for their trouble, and sometimes it's hard to understand for the citizen that Debbie absolutely cannot help them because the ordinance doesn't allow her any latitude to do it. So I think it's important for us to give her that latitude, especially in the meantime until we can get some kind of program in place that actually does the job. The water tower, we've had a lot of comments about the water tower being horribly dirty. Work has started on that. They started cleaning from the bottom up, so I don't want anybody to get worried and think they just stopped, at the top. They're going to finish it out. Just once they get to the bowl, it takes a lot longer to to be able to complete the cleaning, and they're doing it right, so.
There's a ton of AT&T equipment that they're having to move around.
Yeah, they don't wanna have to pay for
I should
that.
have said that. There's a ton of mobile equipment that they're moving around.
The Tiger Grant is another great thing because that's a huge deal for us. It's 100% financing should we get it. It's nothing's guaranteed, but certainly doesn't hurt that Debbie is familiar with how those grants operate, and having worked at OTO, it's just an asset. You're an asset to the city in that aspect. Garrett, you guys have done great. We're getting rooftops up, and I think eventually in the long term we have a lot of people who hate that their water bills or sewer bills are so high. And adding rooftops, I think when we start spreading that out some more, that's when we start the ability to reduce those bills and get them back in line where they need to be. So thank you guys for your diligence and hard work on we've got to have rooftops. We got to have business, but we got to have rooftops too. So thank you guys very much. The last thing I would say is I don't know if we realize how big of a deal it is that we just saved that much money. You know, the bond rating is huge. The world has been, the country, such doom and gloom with finances and governmental agencies and their horrible finances, and we're in a spot to not only save money, but to say we are really well thought of by the people who issue debt and carry our bonds. So I mean, that is amazing. It's stuff that you can never imagine, and it goes back to the processes that we've had in place and have been changing over time. And they look at those things and say, you guys are really on top of it. You're controlling the way you do things, and they're happy with this. So I'm going to move on to council reports. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, David, for all your hard work.
I appreciate it, the staff. Thank you.
I know you took on the extra role of the public works spot. That's been a load increase for you, fixing some issues there, some things iron out, and all the growth, all the staff that's helped us get there. So continuous. I think every meeting we come to, there's more things positive that come about. So we're growing. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mendez.
Just want to pass my thanks along to Jennifer and team for the grant. I know she works hard on those, and this is not her first one. So just thanks to your team for all the work trying to save us money. Partnering with the OTO and some of the benefits we're seeing there. Thank you, David, and staff for pursuing that and trying to make the city of Republic a better place. Excited about the Owens Park Trail too. I think that's just going to beautify the city and just make it more attractive to live here. It's nice to back to some of the changes, the buildings that are happening. Thank you for that. It's nice to see growth start to happen again. Some of the changes to the codes that are being reviewed and changed are helping, and it's just nice to see that. And then ultimately, it's just nice to be a part of this process where we're going through and looking at the different types of software. We met this last week, and it is really interesting to see this process kind of transform and take shape. It's going to make a big difference in the efficiency of the city, the accuracy of the billing that comes out of the system, and some of the opportunities to go to different billing models for utility billing with the automation of meter reading and things of that nature. It's really cool to see what the opportunities are there. So Debbie and that group are doing a fantastic job, and it's just kind of neat to just sit back and watch it take place. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Dykeman?
Yes, it has been a great process of working with Debbie and her group on the RFPs and getting the software, because I know it's been a big challenge for them, and it's, I think we're starting to maybe see the end of the light at the end of the tunnel, and once we make a decision, it's still going to be a while getting it implemented, but it's going to be a definite betterment. And on building in Republic, where I live out on Grace, we had approved the final plat on the housing, finishing out Monte Cristo out there, a part of it. And I mean, they're not wasting any time. In the last week and a half, they've got one house up, and another 2 or 3 started, and one of them they finished up tonight. So we're getting it up. So it's growing. Of course, everybody's working to get things done before winter, and but it is wonderful working with the staff, as I said before, and David, and this council. I mean, we're here making things better for the city, and I think it's showing.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Jones?
Just kind of a broad brush stroke thank you to each of the department heads. It's nice from a council standpoint, and I'm sure I speak for all council, when you send an email or a text or whatever to a head of a department and you get a timely response back, even if it's not the answer to your question, it's a response that says, hey, I'll get you the answer to your question. That goes a long way towards just the communication through us, and then we can communicate that to whomever asked us the question. Maybe. So several of you I've sent emails and had questions of, and that's great. I appreciate it very much. Jared, I did see that the riding arena is in the process of being raised, and had people comment on that. Do you have an ETA for completion?
Yeah, I spoke to the contractor today. He said they're going to be on site Friday or Monday, and he thinks it'll be 7 to 10 days for completion. We went ahead and take all the safety measures, going to put a fence around there. So I hesitate to say that we're excited about it because I know there's people that really like the Saddle Club, but in the end, it'll be a win for us.
Right. Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Mr. Wilson?
Well, I'd just like to say on the Owen Park, the neighbors around it are really looking forward to that walking trail. I hear about it pretty regular.
Nice.
So that's a good deal.
Yeah. And
That's
some
about it.
benefit. Before we ask for a motion to adjourn, I didn't get to say thank you, Ron, for being back. I know you were getting ready to step onto a cruise ship when we called and gave you the bad news, but we are certainly glad that you're back for the short term till we can have you help us find a good replacement, right?
Yeah.
And I do have one thing I forgot to bring up until Mr. Mendez talked about Mr. Cameron filling in as Public Works Director. We haven't heard anything in some time about Hines and Oakwood, and I was going to ask briefly, or if you could give us a brief synopsis of where we're at with that.
So, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm trying to think when that project was supposed to start. It was before I even got here, if I recall, but we've already got the money in the bank to start construction. I know we have a payment that'll be coming up in March of 18, because we've already got money. So, taking over that project and presuming to get it back on track, there are still a couple of easements that have not been acquired. So today I basically have issued an authority or a directive to an outside agency to get those executed ASAP or work with it, because those have been handed to a staff member that just, no disrespect to that staff member, but there's just no way. And so I've issued some directions to move that, to expedite it, because that project needs to get going and get done, because we got money sitting there. We're going to be making payments on it again. And so I'm kind of looking forward to getting that done, because we need to collaborate with the school to get that. But that's where it's at. We need to get those two executed. And one of those, I believe, is actually for Ozark Electric. So it's because they have to move their utility, we have to procure an easement of some nature. So it's really not their fault, but at the same time, on the front end moving forward on these projects, those things should be resolved well in advance before you ever bid out or even start talking about withdrawing the money. So we'll get it resolved relatively quickly, but again, we have about 2 easements, but as soon as that easement is acquired, or acquired for the co-op or whoever that Ozark Electric, we'll get it done. But that's where that project is. And I did miss with all the staff, but with Debbie, this marks 6 months with us. So it's been a pretty crazy 6 months for you with audits, software changes, refinances, and budgeting, and another audit. Congratulations on staying with us for 6 months. But yeah, we are back to the Tiger Grant. Garrett actually drafted the first one, and that is basically the work and all the stuff that went into it. I appreciate all the work of all of our staff and all of them buying into a mission and vision and all the work that you all put in every day. And Karen, I can't wait. I forgot to mention this because it's going to be in your report. The comp plan we are starting to make, and if Brandon was here, I'd tell him this, so we'll tell him later. But I appreciate the work that is going in on that, and I did get my work in, even though I was a little bit late. I did get my work submitted almost in time. But thank you for all the work that's going in on that comp plan. That's going to be a red letter day for the city when that's done as well. But Mr. Jones, I thank you for your comments for the staff, and I'm glad that council feels comfortable emailing the staff and getting those questions answered, because it sure makes it easier for my office as well, so.
All right, so thank you for picking up the slack on that Heinz and Oakwood
You're
project,
welcome.
because none of us want to be making payments before we even started doing the work.
Well, you shouldn't have gave me that, because then I just added 4 more things to it, so, yeah, we're gonna get it done.
All right, anybody else have anything? Anything else at all? All right, motion and a second to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, roll call vote?
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Mendez?
Aye.
Councilmember Dykeman?
Aye.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson?
Motion carries 5-0, we're adjourned.
Sure you want to do the
Yeah.
Like Charlie.
I want to make sure.
I was sitting like John going, come on, say no.
Yes.
I was waiting, Charlie to stick his head in the door.